Janina Lewandowska, Europe's first woman to parachute from an altitude of 5 kilometres and the first woman pilot in the Polish Air Force. Fearless and unflappable, Lewandowska also acquired extreme patience while learning to fly on gliders, where the whole art is waiting for a favourable wind. She loved riding updrafts towards the sun and descending in freefall before the canopy was released. That was where she felt free. "I must fly," she used to say, "because on the ground I feel as if my wings were bound." Her other love was singing, a passion instilled in Janina by her music-minded mother. She transferred her own unfulfilled ambition to be an opera singer onto her daughter, teaching her to play the piano and sing. Unfortunately, she died of tuberculosis when Janina was just 11. Lewandowska was born on the 22nd of April, 1908 in Kharkiv, where her father, the Russian Imperial Army's Polish officer Józef Dowbor-Muśnicki, was stationed. His later achievements as a general included the formation of the Polish First Corps in Russia. In 1918, the family moved to Poland, newly reborn after 123 years of partitions, and 2 years later they settled on an estate in Batorowo-Lusowo near Poznań. Janina's childhood and early teenage years were filled with happiness and horse riding, swimming in the lake, and ice skating. Impetuous and mercurial, independent and stubborn, Janina always got her way. In 1926, she enrolled at the Poznań Music Conservatory. She sang in a cabaret, which enraged her father, who believed that the family name should not be tarnished by stage performing. When Janina accepted the fact that she would never make it as an opera singer, she needed a source of income that would give her financial independence from her father. To this end, she took up a job as a telegrapher at the Poznań post office, while moonlighting as a pianist and singer during intervals at a local cinema, the Muse. Forced to live frugally, Janina designed and made her own clothes. She was also active in the community, signing up for a military training program for postal employees and taking an advanced course in telegraphy, where she learned to use the Hughes device and other communications equipment. It was probably from her brother Olgierd, an Air Force officer, that Janina caught the flying bug. In the 1930s, she obtained her glider pilot certificate and became a member of the Poznań Flying Club. As her ambition was to earn a sports pilot license, she qualified on the RWD-8 trainer aircraft and passed parachute jumping tests. At that time, Poland had very few female pilots and hardly any trained in parachute jumping. Janina obtained her parachutist certificate and is thought to have been Europe's first woman to jump from 5,000 meters, 16,400 feet. In May 1939, during an air show in Poznań, she was the sole female parachutist out of 21 competitors. Through aerial acrobatics, Janina found love. Mieczysław Lewandowski, a glider instructor and pilot, who became her husband in June 1939. The Kraków-born Mieczysław was supposed to move to Poznań, but when he arrived at Janina's flat on the 3rd of September 1939, 3 days after the outbreak of World War II, she had already left to join the fighting. He had missed her by only 30 minutes. Her mobilization posting is unknown, but most likely Janina and 3 Flying Club colleagues joined, on their own initiative, the ground detachment of the 3rd Military Aviation Regiment as it evacuated eastwards from Poznań. On the 22nd of September, her unit was probably taken prisoner by the Soviet army near Husiatyn. Janina was initially imprisoned at the Ostashkov POW camp and later in December transferred to Kozelsk, where the Russians were holding 4,500 Polish officers. Lewandowska was the only woman prisoner at Kozelsk. To give her extra protection against prison guards and camp officials, Polish generals incarcerated in the camp probably promoted Janina to the rank of pilot officer and dressed her in a male Air Force officer's uniform. She had to keep her identity a secret, also because the Bolsheviks already hated General Dowbor-Muśnicki and would have every reason to kill his daughter. Lewandowska was much admired by her fellow prisoners. Despite harsh conditions, she never complained. With her cool, composed, no-nonsense manner, she tried to raise spirits, helping the camp chaplain organize clandestine church services, baking wafers, and singing at Mass. Her camp companions called her the Holy Mother of Kozelsk for her strong, unbending spirit. In April 1940, the NKVD began systematically transferring prisoners out of the camp. On the 22nd of April, her 32nd birthday, Lewandowska was placed in a group of prisoners and transported to a forest near Katyn. There, her hands tied behind her back, Janina was killed with one shot to the back of her head. Her body fell into a huge ditch, joining those of her colleagues. In this manner, NKVD executioners killed at least 21,000 Poles, including soldiers, border guards, policemen and members of other uniformed services. All died at specially selected killing grounds in forested areas near Katyn, Kharkiv and Mednoya in April and May 1940. Janina Lewandowska was the only female victim of the Katyn massacre, named after the Katyn forest where many mass graves were discovered. The only possession she left behind was a metal toy aeroplane. A few months before Janina's death, her sister Agnieszka Dowbor-Muśnicka was shot dead by the Germans at Palmyry, outside Warsaw. The fate of Lewandowska and her family illustrates, as through a magnifying glass, the tragedy that befell Poland during World War II.